Cavendish has been shipping their flagship fruit since 1952. 4 billion units a year later, it's still the one to beat. The presentation is subtle. It doesn't come with a charger or warranty card, so Cavendish obviously expects you to know what you're doing. The tamper seal or the stem is the main way to open the product. There's still a lot of debate in the community about whether you should open it from the top or the bottom, but I want to say the bottom openers have it. The top really is more of a legacy design choice. Let's talk design. Having some curve, definitely the best aesthetic choice here. 27 degrees, give or take, super ergonomic, basically unchanged for 70 years. Build tolerance all within spec, unit to unit variance, little higher than I'd like, but honestly that's fine. I pulled 3 from the same bunch and got 3 different weights, and that's not the kind of QC issue you would see from something like Granny Smith. I do have to flag something though. There's a disease called Panama disease tropical race 4 threatening global supply of Cavendish bananas, and Cavendish decided to go with only one cultivar. I would say it's worth factoring into your buy decision. Let's crack it open to see what's inside. 422 milligrams of potassium. For context, no other smartphone on the market comes close to this. It's just miles ahead. There's no contest at all. Anyway, here are the phloem bundles. Cavendish's documentation doesn't mention them, but functionally they're basically the thermal paste of the unit. Most users prefer to remove them, but I don't. Personally, I respect the engineering and I leave them in. There's no Bluetooth and no wireless, which is probably going to piss a lot of people off in 2026, but it does kind of come down to your relationship with technology. I tested bananas versus competitors on a few different benchmarks. First up was peel time. Competitors were kiwi, tomato, dragon fruit, and orange. Honestly, some of these fruit are so hard to peel that there's no point trying. You may as well just cut it up and scoop out the fruit. And the kiwi you can just straight up eat. So banana wins this hands down, with a peel time of 7.11 seconds. Let's take a listen to the winning peel. Next up was a drop test from 1 meter, just to get a sense of banana durability. After one drop, it was doing okay, still robust with an unbroken chassis. I've seen much worse from a $1,000 phone, but I wanted to see how many knocks it takes to break open, and for those who are interested, the answer is 5. And you end up with the unit looking a little bit like this. Test 3 was smoothie throughput, putting all the fruits in the blender and seeing how long they took to turn into juice. This one was honestly pretty close. I had trouble telling the timings because it was so fast. Banana was right up there with the others. Benchmark number 4 was portability. This is where the competitors struggled, but Cavendish actually did a really good job with the banana. I had a full range of motion, no issues at all making a mess, pocket storage works just fine, and you can travel with a stress-free experience. This is definitely big points for Cavendish. Thermal load is one of those aspects which really makes or breaks the longevity of different tech. Death Valley in California hits around 56 degrees Celsius at its hottest. I wanted to see how the Cavendish handles sustained thermal load, so I ran it at 55 for 90 minutes. Technically, this is also how you make banana chips, which is a pretty good bonus deliverable. Thermal throttling was starting to come in at about 40 minutes, and at the 90-minute mark, the chassis looked a lot softer. That said, it did survive, and it still looks like a banana, so I respect that. For the cold test, I ran a full overnight at -18. Out of the freezer, the chassis was rock solid, no flex whatsoever. Back at operating temperature, functionality came back about 90%. It's a different texture. I'd say the haptics at this point are pretty compromised. Lastly, we tested browning rate, and the banana did insanely well. This is a 3-hour time lapse, and you can barely see any brown spots in the banana. Before we tally the results, I want to talk about the competitors we used in our benchmark testing. The kiwi specs are pretty good, top of the market in vitamin C numbers, strong aesthetic at the cross section, but the whole problem is the onboarding. If you don't have the spoon peripherals, you're gonna have to chew through the skin, which is a really annoying setup friction, something the producers at Zespri have never really addressed. Points for the interior design, but kiwis lose out because of the entry barrier. I know the comments are gonna drag me for this, but I included the tomato because it is technically a fruit, even though nobody puts it in a fruit salad. It's the market leader in savory applications, and that's a market that Cavendish doesn't compete in. But it's important to remember nobody's eating a tomato at the gym. It's a different use case and a different customer. So even though the tomato is not a direct competitor, I included it for the sake of completion. Next up is the dragon fruit, basically the concept phone of the fruit world. Stunning hardware. Everybody wants to be seen with the dragon fruit. You buy it, you cut it open, interior looks good, but it tastes just a little bit plain. Water with a bit of texture. The specs don't back up the design, and with a huge price tag, the value proposition is through the floor. It's great for content, but not much else. Then we obviously have the orange, which at this point, if you don't know what an orange is, you're probably from the desert. Their IP is all over the place. Orange juice is the premium juice in the market. Nothing more to add here. Across call benchmarks, this is how banana and its competitors stacked up. Pause the video to check out the numbers if you're interested. I used it as my main fruit for a week, and I want to show you how it held up. The grip feels incredible. It's like a corporate handshake. One-handed usage is a genuine strength. You can eat this while walking somewhere, taking a call, which you wouldn't be able to do with, for example, a mango. I do have to flag the haptics though. They're quite mushy and every bite feels the same. I'd appreciate a bit more feedback in the unit, something the seeds do a good job of in the passion fruit. So that's something Cavendish could add in future updates. La 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 la. That's it. That's my vocal warm up. La 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 la. Oh my god. Ah, that's funny. Honestly, I'm not too sure how I feel about the fact bananas used to have seeds. I'm guessing the texture would probably be a little bit like pomegranate. First-party software slate is stacked. You've got a killer product in banana bread, then you've got some really interesting third-party IP like toys, then banana lollies, banana boat sunscreen. Sadly, the ecosystem is closed. You cannot, for example, pair a banana with a kiwi. You can unofficially in a fruit salad, but Cavendish doesn't support the workflow. Chiquita and Dole are the two biggest banana producers in the world, and a lot of people would call this the Apple versus Samsung of bananas, which honestly is pretty fair. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I know that the comments probably will. The product value is one of the best things about the Cavendish flagship. Across the three major grocery chains in Australia, Aldi, Woolworths, and Coles, two of them were $4, and Aldi was a little bit less than that, coming out as the winner on pure value, with a price of less than 40 cents per banana. You're paying 1/200,000th the price of an iPhone for a device with measurably higher potassium output. I haven't worked with bananas before, so I thought it was important to check resale value, and it wasn't hard to find a buyer at all. I listed the unit at 75 cents, a 50% markup on retail price, and with that I had a buyer in under 6 minutes. They didn't ask any questions either, which I think is a big plus for Cavendish brand recognition. The secondary market for Cavendish is basically unregulated. You can move them outside markets, stores, commercial spaces, public spaces. The liquidity is crazy high. Taking a look at the overall pros and cons, we've got an amazing one-handed UX, industry-leading value biopolymer chassis. The IP ecosystem is incredible, and each banana is packing around 422 milligrams of potassium. For cons, we've got monoculture supply risk, no haptic feedback, and a little bit of an inconsistent QC. But that's really not a noticeable problem. Before we get to the verdict, I need to talk about the last model, the Gros Michel. It was discontinued in 1965, but according to customers from around that time, it had a much better flavor and thicker skin. It also had a stronger build quality. And the reason we don't see them anymore is because Panama disease TR1 wiped every single unit off the map. Every single one. In 2026, we have the younger brother. It's not as strong or tasty, but it was never meant to be the flagship. Cavendish was the backup plan, which ended up going mainstream. And I think context matters a lot here, because if Panama TR1 wiped out Gros Michel, we could already be reviewing a fruit that is slowly being phased out with Panama TR4. Final score 8.4 out of 10. I do have to take points for the mushy haptics and the monoculture issue, but Cavendish gets points back on price and potassium. And the fact that 70 years in, they're still the one to beat. Cavendish didn't reinvent the fruit this year, but with the quality they're shipping with legacy models, they didn't have to.